Welcome to season 2 of Learning and Unlearning.
Our world has become increasingly competitive, which means our ability to ascend to our dreams and become the prominent men we dream of becoming has become less likely. This, coupled with the expectation we and the people around us place on ourselves, makes for an awful assault of mental well-being, especially the mental well-being of young men. Here to help us unpack these ideas is Khaya Dlanga, an established and successful man in many respects, someone who understands the true cost of untreated mental illness, but most importantly, someone that I think a lot of us as young men look up to. A lot of us might have discovered you on social media, but we followed your life. We've seen the top billing interviews. We've just, we've tried to. So please just introduce yourself, because I think you'll do yourself more justice, and then we'll get into it.
It's always so weird when you ask to introduce yourself, because I don't quite know how to introduce myself, but my name is Khaya Dlanga, but it's not Dlanga, and people mispronounce it all the time. And the only place people know how to pronounce my surname without having ever heard it is certain parts of the Eastern Cape and up to, the Eastern Cape from Kokstad all the way, say, to Egua.
Okay.
But when you get to East London, then they start mispronouncing.
It gets messy.
Yeah, it gets messy again.
So they say Khaya Dlanga, right? But it's but it's Dlanga, not Dlanga. So people say Dlanga, it's Dlanga, and like holy shasha is the name. You know, when they try to fix Mandela. Mandela, not Mandela.
I blame the SABC. I blame the SABC. I blame Take 5. I blame Soul City. I blame everybody.
Every major organization in the world.
I know.
Even for your surname. I blame them all.
So I come from there, and it's obviously the Eastern Cape is a very rural, Eastern Cape, and that's where I came from. My grandfather raised me, and my grandmother. I'm that typical kind of person who was raised by their grandparents, but in deep rural Eastern Cape. And so, it's so funny. We used to go to the main road, and it's like but the tarred road. So it had even the tarred road.
Yeah.
So you walk, it's gonna take good 30 minutes to get there. Get there.
Sure.
In fact, maybe even longer actually. And we would start. So you see a car from a distance, and then you have to identify. This was a game. Distance, identify what the car is.
Wow.
Okay.
And this is what we're doing. Oh, that's a Hilux. That's the Toyota Corolla.
I didn't walk here for 40 minutes for nothing, boy.
That's what we do as a game. But as the car gets closer, yes, we got it right. Yes, we got it right.
And of course, it's a Hilux, right?
But I didn't realize this much later. I only realized this much later. So I would always win.
Oh.
But the only reason I always won was because I was actually a bit more privileged, than the rest of the kids. Because every now and then I'd go to Elokshini, in Tanzania, I'd see cars, so I'd kind of
you were in the urban spaces.
But as a child, you don't know that the reason it's not because I'm smarter than the kids. It's just that I'm more exposed.
Yes.
Right?
Wow.
And that was a very kind of interesting experience. But and for example, in December, so this is how I'm exposed to how old I am. So this is like just before the end of apartheid. So we'd be standing by the side of the road, and white people would be like, they're driving their cars, the freaking big boats, and you know, fishing rods sticking out the windows. Happy white
Recreational
children.
activities.
On the
Like happy white children, you know, and then they would stop because we look all raggedy and dirty, like holding sticks, and because you know, looking after cows and stuff, and they'd stop and they'd take pictures of us.
Oh, nice.
And that was like
Of you.
Yeah, of you.
yeah, of you.
Not with you.
Yeah, no,
Of you.
yes, because now I imagine I've got like all these, you know, white families. Who've got pictures of me.
You're in people's households right now.
People's home, and they don't even know.
Oh my goodness.
Who this dirty child is.
Yeah, Pella, you were part of the excursion.
I was the
Yeah. There's the native.
In its natural habitat.
In its natural habitat.
Yeah.
And then I
Hectic.
don't know, at some point, there was a time I was like, actually, no, I don't know why. But I was like, no, actually, I refused.
Yeah.
And but I don't know, because because the question I'd asked myself was, why is it that all the nice cars are driven by white people?
Okay, that's number one.
And I was
The
like,
beginning of Khaya's cloud consciousness. That should be your next book.
I was like, yeah, but it's just white people with nice cars.
Yeah.
And when I look at magazines, everything that is nice belongs to white people.
Yeah, for
For me,
sure.
that was like, I think as a child, you don't know where the question comes from. But the environment makes you see that there's something abnormal about, but you don't know why it's abnormal. And that was, I know I didn't, you will notice that I probably won't answer any of the questions you
Don't
asked.
even sweat. I'm listening. No.
I will talk about
Yeah.
so many
I'm
different
worried that
things.
you've answered all of them. I think what's scary about that is that it does one of two things to a child, right? It either makes you question why that is the case, or it makes you accept your circumstances as
Oh,
the
yes.
inevitability of your circumstances.
Yes, you're
and
doomed.
that white people's circumstances will inevitably be that. My life will always look like this. This is my lot, and this is how this is my hand, right?
Yeah.
Or it makes you question. That's weird. You know, like, why is that the case? That's interesting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you actually are answering the question about your origins.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the whole story. So please carry on.
Alright, boom.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so it was very much, you know, so because I mean I have like, I think that fortunate or unfortunate experience of having such a unique experience of like not having it really experienced apartheid, but was obviously affected by it.
Absolutely.
But
Right at the tail
fact
end.
that I was living in the village,
Yeah.
where like, you know, they said, okay, black people, you live here, and
Yes.
you are only allowed so many cows. You can't have more than so many, you know, and therefore you can farm. You're only allowed so many, you know, and
Education
your
spending in rural areas.
exactly. So already you had these limitations, but you didn't know there were limitations. You had no idea. And with the highest aspiration, I mean, people they were mine workers. So men would come back from, they would go and work in Joburg. And there was a firm called Deba,
Okay.
which is TEBA. I don't even know what it stands for, but I remember the logo. It's yellow and black. And the men from the villages would go to town and register so that they could go and work in the mine. It was like a recruitment agency.
Yes, I think, yeah. I remember reading about something similar on Long Walk to Freedom. Yeah.
And so what would
Yeah.
happen is then like now you have it's just kids and women in the village.
Yes.
So what happens is that
Yes.
back in Joburg, you have like this man house with other families.
Yeah.
Because you only come back twice a year.
Yeah, so he has a new family now.
And so what are you supposed to do? So it's already
I've never heard somebody give grace to men who went to Joburg.
But I think
But what are you?
to know the things, because I think that you that sometimes we don't look at the context of the
Yeah.
time, because you only see your kids and your wife twice a year.
Yeah.
2 weeks in December, 1 week in March, and that is it.
Yeah.
So
Companionship.
For about 40 years, for a very long
What
time.
are you? And the dysfunctionality now that he created
For sure.
as a result.
For
so
sure.
when you get home, and the women as well, they're back home. They have needs.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, I have, you know,
Knees?
There was an uncle
Yeah.
that, an open secret, I think, in the family, when they, his wife had a child. But, he was not the father.
Yeah.
And this was not uncommon.
Yeah.
Because exactly what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you had an uncle who stayed and didn't go to Joburg to work, who serviced the needle.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, there's probably an industry for that. There's probably like a quick industry that happened. Yeah. But like it's so.
You should say that, but also now I had an industry, my own particular industry.
Okay.
Where I know I've told the story before, but because at the time I was the youngest person who could read and write. Okay. Because my mom sent to school very early, but a lot of people were also illiterate, so they have letters coming from Joburg.
Yes, of course.
And that needs someone to read the letters.
Yes, of course.
And
Yes, of
because
course.
I was young and I could read,
Jeez.
and they wanted some discretion, I imagine. Then they would call me and ask me to read these letters for them.
Yes.
And I'd read the letter.
How old are you?
I'm 5, 6,
Whoa,
7, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then they would dictate their response, and then I would be writing whatever
That's amazing. That was an industry.
Because I imagined, but if I'd known that, I could have asked for money.
You could have asked for money. You could have charged.
That's a lot of value.
That's a lot of value, dude.
The
Yeah.
value a captive audience, and you're the only one who can provide.
Yo, come on.
Because I'm sure for them, it was like years later on, I thought other people could write. They could ask my grandmother. They could, they were up, but why?
But I'm not gonna snitch.
It's like because they're like maybe they thought that I couldn't grasp the concept, which is true.
Yes.
I imagine they were pretty like hectic and scandalous and
and raunchy sometimes.
And raunchy, I imagine.
Yeah. But like, I think it's so interesting that you, already from your lived experience, like there's a real political context to everything.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you unpacking the political context behind almost urban moral degeneration and how that affected rural areas as well, right? And I think
also where that degeneration came from.
Exactly.
It came from a human place as well.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And I think one other thing that you unpacked that I thought was really, really dope was just tracking your journey of exposure in these circumstances that made you stand out. So I think my question then is, with regards to that specific point, is, was that a running theme throughout the rest of your life, throughout your career, you leaving, your rural home village and, coming to the big towns, big cities, Joburg, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Can you track moments of exposure that were crucial to getting you in different spaces and getting you to survive? Because it seems like you were surviving in Dantsana and back home as well in ways that kids in your community weren't able to survive. Yeah. So was that like a running pattern throughout your life?
It's a very good question, because I feel that I have actually been a nomad for maybe until I'll say.
I mean, you're nomading right now.
I am. I feel like my entire life has actually been it because obviously my mom, she had to, because my father died when, literally, we found out when I celebrated my 6th birthday.
Imagine.
That. And then, so my mom was already working, but because my dad was went to Joburg, met some other woman.
Yeah. Has a new family now.
And he was like, peace out.
Yeah.
And then my mom was like, I don't need no man. I can raise this kid on my own.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then that's when she went to work in East London, and she'd come about once a month to see us. But what was so hectic about my mom is because she was so glamorous. I remember I'd see her, she's so beautiful and this glamorous woman that I'd be like, if I touch her. I don't want to touch her. I was almost too scared of touching her. But and then I was sent to another rural school for about a year or two where my grandfather's sister was a principal at the school.
Yes.
So, but this was even more rural. I don't know where I came from. It's like schools in the heart, under a tree, and that's what it was. And then I spent time with other kids there. And then when my grandmother passed away, my mother was like, geez.
Yeah.
She could, I mean, I was smoking weed. I was like bunking school. And I'm not even 10. At this stage. Because weed was out here in the village, It was I was like, so, and then I was living here. And then my mom sees and she's like, this child is going to end up useless. And I get sent to this boarding school called Little Flower Junior Secondary School.
Come on now.
Little Flower.
Yeah. And when I but this is like the top politicians in Transkei at the time. Government officials, principals, kids, they all go there, and then there was me.
Oh my word!
And but the assumption is that, well, if I'm there, I must come from a decent family.
Exactly.
Right? I come from a well-to-do family. I come from, but not really. But my mom and the other kids actually thought that I was rich, which was very weird. I don't know why they thought.
Your mom's glamorous.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And I was the furthest thing from it. And but that's actually very true what to say. So spent like 2 years in that school. In Kumbu, this boarding school, like this is my nomadic experience. So I'll never forget the first, because I couldn't speak a word of English when I got there. So
My
10,
goodness,
so I'm 9,
daunting. Yeah.
going on 10. So, and then in March, you're not allowed to speak. Like, they gave you like the first few weeks you could speak Xhosa, but then start integrating English in your language
It doesn't
over
take
time.
3 weeks to learn the language.
I know, but it actually does interesting, because over time you start. So they're like, okay, maybe the first few weeks, first week you can speak Xhosa, but then start integrating words into your language, and then like by a month, I think maybe 40% or 30% of your speech
Should be in English. Yeah.
and then, month 2, maybe over 50% now.
Yeah.
And then by the time month 3, maybe 70 to 80%. And so
Now you can write a
you couldn't.
book.
And they used to have and if you spoke Xhosa, it was a Catholic boarding school. So if you spoke Xhosa, they would take like a masking, like a masking tape.
Whoa.
And muzzle you.
Muzzle you for 3 hours.
Whoa.
So if that happened
That's shocking.
during your lunch break, you're not gonna eat.
Oh my
So the
word.
motivation was strong.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now I go back to it's March, and I go back to the village.
Yeah, because you've had your fair share of muzzles.
No, I didn't.
You didn't even?
I didn't. So I get there,
Oh
but
shit.
now
Okay.
I'm pretending in front of my sister. I've forgotten how to speak Xhosa. And my sister looks at me like, and then she says, and then she's like, it's funny how you don't forget that you can speak Xhosa when you're speaking to Gran.
Call out culture before the hashtag.
Okay. I was like, all right. Because so now so you talk about exposure. I had this exposure now.
Yes.
There's kids, and I'm learning to speak English. In my village, no one is really speaking English. I'll never forget the one.
And again, you've been standing out, and now you're standing out even more.
Yeah.
Honestly. Then I go to then I end up going to East London. I'm like the first black kid in my class, and the first group of black kids in the school.
Whoa.
So there's like, I think 6 of us at the time.
My
This
word.
is the
And
90s, hey?
this is literally the first black kid, and now the kids are playing with their hair. They're like, oh my God, it's stretching.
And you're just like,
It does stretch,
Yeah.
bro.
and you don't even know the hair, you don't even understand hair politics, so you're just like standing there like, I guess it does.
So now I'm in the township. What happens now in the township is these people know the kind of school uniforms what kids have.
Yes.
And I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
And now they're
Yes.
seeing me. This is like such a mind fornication.
Yeah. Come on, it's a family show.
Is it though?
Yeah. Fornication is not a family word. But we'll be fine. It's probably like a Latin biological thing, whatever.
Fornication sounds worse than fuck.
Yeah, it really does.
It sounds
Kind of communication.
pretty terrible. Like,
Anyway.
This is what I was saying earlier, but we've lost a generation of distinguished Xhosa men. Who's that?
you know what the thing
Kyle,
is?
please keep it up. Leave
Whether
these
that's
guys.
true or not,
These guys were born in Joburg. I was born in the
fornication
rules
forces
like
you
you.
to
I get it.
consider the physiological process
Like,
of the
you
fornication.
picture it immediately.
You picture it.
Anyway. Sorry.
Anyway,
Guys.
You know, but I know this is not true.
Yeah.
But it's a legend about where the word fuck comes from. I don't know.
Yes.
What fornication under the consent of the
Of the,
king.
of the king, yeah.
I believe
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, apparently, like you needed to get consent.
Yeah.
There was a period where you need consent.
Yeah.
The king has allowed me that I can have, I
Yeah.
can have
Coitus.
And if you're not to be arrested or fined, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
great that
fornication.
consent is a thing. Wrong person. Wrong like it's
Touche. Come on.
So now I'd be coming from school, and people would be like, "Aibo, so you go to school with what kids?
Yeah.
Tell me, like in class, are you in the same class? Yes. Like, are you sitting at the back? No, I just sit wherever. And they break. Like, you eat together. Yeah, together.
Yeah.
And do you play together? Yes, we play together. This is like a shock to the system. They cannot compute that this is actually possible.
Sure.
And it just doesn't make any sense that this is a thing that does happen.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Yeah, we're kumsha," which is to speak English. They act so far. Do you know that if I'm not mistaken, Xhosa might be the only language in the world that has a word for the act of speaking English.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Kumsha.
Okay.
Even English doesn't have the word.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
just speaking.
You just speak.
I was raised Sotho and there's
just
no,
speak.
there isn't.
The act of speaking English, kumsha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kumsha, yes. Okay. Yeah,
Wow, okay.
So I honestly think it might be the only language.
Yeah.
But now and then they're okay, kumsha again, and now I have to run.
Alas.
Hey, English.
Jeez, man.
So and it was again. So what you're saying about that having different exposures, and I'm going to school with white kids. So I'm in the township and I'm living in a 2-room house. We have no electricity. I'm in this fancy school every day. So I'm in
Yeah, two different
worlds
experiences.
at the same
Yeah.
time, every day.
Yeah.
And so when I'm in school, I am kind of don't want the kids. So I deliberately made no friends. Because
you.
now if I make friends,
play dates.
yeah. So they want to come, I'll have to meet a girl, and then she want to come to my house, and then she'll see that I'm
Because that was my next question.
And then I'm like, I don't want to be meeting a girl.
Yeah.
You're living in both of these two nations. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
Because
That's
it's interesting because at the beginning of this thing you warned us about your conversation. You're literally answering these questions so well. Because this one was about your earliest memory of being told that your value is linked to your status. And now what I'm seeing is that because of the school that you're going to, people are immediately hinging a certain value onto you. But now you, in your own mind, know that you're not as rich as those other kids.
Yeah.
So you feel like an imposter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this status thing is now occupying your mind. And it's so tragic because, like, making friends, just a basic companionship need
man.
that we all have.
Yeah, it's a
you end up
very
not being
human
able
need.
to do that because it compromises the value people have placed on you.
Yeah.
And the value, I suppose, that you have agreed with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why this is such a powerful chat? It's just because I guess the relativity of wealth, right?
Yeah.
If you are a middle class kid, which is always my experience, right? Being lower middle class and then middle class at some point, going to because you have a mother killing herself to put you through a private school or an expensive school, you always this is a shared experience for so many people.
Yeah.
Whether or not you
So
come from a
many.
village, whether or not you
Township.
come from a township or
Yeah.
whether or not you come from you live in
You get off
South
Bree,
Africa or-
and then you go to
It's such
Parktown
a
Boys.
shared experience.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about that,
And I've
then, right?
I've never had language given.
Yes. Like, now, what about the pressure? Because it's a polar experience, and it's polar pressure.
Yeah.
On the one end, when you go back home, it's the pressure to represent the upper class experience to them and maintain your high status to them almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the other end is to sustain your status there with them, the pressure not being to have your own, impoverished experience bleeding in to this new environment. What did that do to you, psychologically, especially as a child? Because I can imagine how tiring that is.
What happens when you forget to pretend? Basically?
Yeah.
You it's interesting because I don't think that I pretended.
For sure.
So
Exactly.
I'll
That's
tell you
one.
why. Because
That's one.
because the reason I did not pretend was because I did not make friends.
There we
You
go.
have to.
I did not have to.
Yeah.
Right? So, and
I pretend.
so but I'm saying maybe my pretension was being aloof.
I see.
But being maybe not aloof, but being approachable, but don't be familiar.
Yeah.
So that
setting a boundary, just a
setting
healthy boundary.
But then you think that so you end up people not and even like in my own neighborhood in the township of Amsterdam, I didn't have friends
Okay.
because the reason I was like, with this neighborhood I lived in, they had electricity, and but I'm going to this incredible school. And none of those kids are going to this school. So there's this it's like this confusing mess. I can't relate to them. I also just come from a village, and now I'm here, and now I'm going. And I mean, one kid came to snitch. He came to tell me that the kids from the neighborhood are going to come to me and ask to see my textbooks. They want to see if the textbooks look like theirs.
There you go.
But
The kids from the very school that you go to.
no, not the school. No, from the hood.
From the hood, I see.
But what they were going to do was that they're going to take my textbooks and tear them and burn them. And I don't know why. I don't know what it was. So this kid kind of snitches and he tells me this. And then they don't come. I was like, he was lying. And then the next day they do come. And then I was like, no, you bring, because now I know. I was like, no, you bring your books. And then I will tell you. And I don't know why. And that kind of maybe convinced me even more not to make friends with people.
Oh my goodness.
So
Got you.
So now
Now there's like a scar, right?
So now I have no friends in the township. I have no friends in school, and because having no friends in school was protecting myself.
Yes.
Because now if they find out that what my family or situation is like, they'll make fun of me. My life is miserable. You build this story.
Yeah, and it's back to that moment, Khaya, that you mentioned, that one day you were just like, no, white people, you don't want to take pictures of me.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. At some point, you were just like, you were very aware of your own dignity.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, right? That's maybe that was the fence that you created. Like, this is my dignity is my context.
Yeah.
Because I am who I am.
Yeah.
I was raised where I was raised.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? And I'm going to protect it as much as possible. So I really find that really interesting.
Yeah. I think there are a number of observations that I've made. It's one, I think originally when we were thinking of having this conversation, it was going to be centered on just the adult life. But what I appreciate about you bringing the part about childhood is the fact that a lot of us don't realize that these pressures that we have now as
Yeah,
adult men come
sure.
from there.
Yeah.
It comes from school.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
comes from because I think to some level we can all relate. Like I wasn't born in a village, but I wasn't born in Joburg, right? So and non-Joburg townships are different to Joburg township.
Yeah.
So Joburg is different. But anyway, I
Yeah.
moved here when I was 5, so I've been here all my life. But even when I moved here, this place was like an anomaly. I felt like an outsider. The whole thing about protecting yourself, I can relate to that because in high school, I went to a school I could not afford. And I made a lot of friendships, and I was happy going to their houses. And I'm glad none of them asked to come to mine until the last month of matric. One of my friends was like, hey, man, you know, after we groove on Friday, let's sleep at your house.
Yeah.
And I was like, mates, that's not how it works. Because I'm used to sleeping at their house. The next morning, the dad takes us out for breakfast. And this time he's
And
like,
the awareness of even not just like my home situation, but like the experience.
yeah, like,
When I go to my white friend's house, they do pizza every Friday night.
yeah.
Like,
Dude,
I
I'm not going to
also
make
know
you
that
pizza.
I'm not gonna. That's not what you're gonna get there.
Yeah.
That's what's going to
And
happen.
again,
You're going to
it's back to the fence, right?
Yes.
You draw that
you
fence.
green it.
Yeah, 100%. You're like, no, this is my dignity. This is where I'm from. This. Yeah, you're not gonna mess with this.
Yeah,
You're not gonna mess
precisely.
with this. This is uncomfortable.
But it's interesting because this is my dignity, but it's also I guess a subconscious concession to the fact that your dignity is linked to external factors, right?
Absolutely.
Like external factors do impact your dignity.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Or maybe not that it impacts your dignity or subverts your dignity objectively, but maybe that like it feels like it does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think in this case, for your dignity is where I'm from, right? This is my grandmother, right? And she spoke like this, and this is how she raised me, and it was dignified.
Yes, because
Right.
black grandmas do also have that
You know what I'm
protection
saying?
thing, you know?
Yeah, and it was dignified. There was nothing wrong
Yes.
with how I was raised.
Yes.
Right? Back to that moment when you were like, nah, don't take a picture of me, right? I am looking after cattle
Yeah.
in this moment.
Yeah.
There is nothing amazing about this
Yes.
or amusing
or
about
abnormal.
this. Or abnormal about this. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I think that's the dignity point. And I think from my side, Khaya, like, speak back to your nomad, you being a nomad, right? And now we've established that maybe you definitely had a boundary that you set to protect your dignity, right? And you were very aware of the different places that you were straddling and the different exposures that you were having. They were giving you an edge and continuously putting you in upper spaces.
But also threatening your dignity.
And threatening your dignity as well. Did you maintain that fence? And you know, yeah, did you maintain that fence even throughout your career, even when things really started to like break for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, or did it collapse? And at which point? Like,
Yeah, very interesting question. I think, you know, with when we talk about dignity, you know, and the mask and the fence that you create, because it's almost like this armor that you cloak yourself with.
Yes,
Because
yes.
the world is, because in many ways you are almost a pioneer, right? Because
yes.
to be fair, like as the guys are sitting here, we're still a significant minority of South Africans who can,
Very
one,
much.
have this conversation.
Very
Number
much.
two,
With this language.
Thirdly, the environments we find ourselves in,
Yeah.
and it's still uncharted territory.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you are still navigating. There aren't many people you can go and talk to and say, how did you navigate this situation? People who look like you, who have a similar life experience to you. You are the one.
You're
You know what I'm
pioneer.
saying? You are the example.
So deep, dude.
And so the pressures are even greater, you know,
Yeah.
because you are the first one in your family, for example, to AB. So it's like you don't have an uncle to talk to.
Yeah.
Actually.
And
Hectic.
and
Hectic.
yeah.
It is worse,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so in many ways, like, oh my goodness. But I think, what was the question?
So did you maintain that fence?
Oh, yeah. So,
As you,
Yeah, because you have no choice in some ways. Or you feel like it. I'll give you, like, when I maintained these fences, and I maintained it with my family. And when I say this, even with my family, so when I went to study at the AAA, study advertising, so my mom had to sell her cows and stuff like that in order for her
that to
afford,
happen.
And she literally became broke and everything. And second year, do the cows not run out? And the chicken and everything that she's
and those are assets, man.
So now I am like, because I've got accommodation, I got to this expensive school, and I don't tell them that I am homeless now. So
you don't tell who? Your mom?
My mom, my family, nobody.
Of course.
I tell nobody.
Yes.
When you say, did I maintain it?
Yes, for sure.
It broke.
Homeless at school.
Yes.
So it broke to such an extent. When you're saying did it break the fence, I maintained it. Even when it was broken.
Even if it shrunk.
Even if it shrunk, I was like, I can't let them. One, they will feel guilty.
Of course.
About this fact. But also, I feel like I've wasted money. Now I'm dropping out. What a waste. Of all of that.
And those that AAA can't know still.
And those that AAA cannot know. And telling your friends, and it's this is why I feel there's so many guys or so many people who are fighting these silent battles. Where you feel like I have to protect you, saying you're protecting something. I don't know what this thing is.
Yes.
But you feel it needs protection. Because if somehow I go and talk to someone to help me, it's like maybe either admitting defeat, or if you're not admitting defeat, it's
you're conceding to it being over.
Yes, but sometimes it is. But you cannot because you're talking about the social status. Because how can you go to such an expensive school and not accept?
We saw you go to that school.
We saw you go to that
We
school.
saw you not give us our textbooks to Brenda.
Yes, and now you are like us. And now to go back home and I might have to go and work at McDonald's. I might have to work at Sears. So this is the thing I was thinking about. I was like, I cannot go home. There's nothing to go. Even if I go back, there's nothing to go back home to.
So where are you staying at?
I'm in Cape Town. I'm like, there was an apartment that has been renovated, and I would go and sleep there at night. And then sometimes what I would do is that when the workers one day they arrived too early, I ran. They arrived too early and I ran and I went
squatting.
And so now I was like, what should I do? And then I was like, the only thing I can do now. And also because I used to forge my train tickets. Because I was at
gotta hustle.
I was at the AAA. So I'm like, because now I was an art director, so I kind of know. I'm forging this train ticket because they were not scanning them back then.
They were looking at them.
They were just looking.
They were scanning with their eyes.
I was, it was a first class train ticket. I was not even forging.
I'm telling you.
I was not even forging like that.
Hand, dog.
You know what I'm saying? I was
You're like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
I wanna do it.
Like I'm gonna go all the way.
But when they got there early, then I was sleeping on the desk of the AAA. So I'd pretend that I was working late. And so when people leave, and then this nomadic lifestyle of mine, I there's a church that I go to, and there's a pastor who kind of is a youth pastor. I used to help out on Fridays with the youth group. So now he's dropping, and then like a few Fridays, he's like, why am I always dropping off at college like at 10 o'clock at night? What's going on? Like, what's up?
The fence starts to shrink again.
And then I'm like,
there's the fence shrinking.
No, the deadlines are insane. AAA is hectic. And then there's like, tell me the truth, what's going on?
Oh my word.
The fence is down.
And then
God, he had
it's an emergency.
I break down.
Yeah.
And then I cry.
It's an emergency.
And then I tell him. and then he finds a place for me to stay that night for the week, and then I find a job as a waiter, blah, blah, blah. And so it's so true that like you keep trying to maintain this.
Yeah, it gets smaller and
fence.
smaller. It comes, and now you don't have a fence anymore. It's just you just a cage.
Yeah.
It's a cage now.
Yeah.
And then you just need to break free, but it's a reckoning when it happens.
But it's a cage that everybody can see into.
Yeah, at some point, because if it's a fence, it's distance.
Yeah.
But once it's a cage, I can actually see what's going on.
Very good point.
My goodness.
Yeah. So I almost feel like it's something that maybe we struggle with as black men.
100%.
And because we're supposed to maintain this thing, especially because your elegant English, your great education, and the appearance of seemingly how you have everything, right? And you've been
especially with
given
social
everything,
media.
right? And so, why are you not excelling?
Yeah, come on
And
now.
why are you not driving a fancy car?
Come on.
Why are you not getting a great promotion? Why aren't you starting a great business? You should be doing all of these things.
And even if all of those things are true, if your conditions stay the same too long, why are you still there?
Why are you still there? And so I feel that you are in this constant fight. So it's almost like you're climbing this pillar, but in bafake Vaseline. But the thing is,
You slipping and falling. They can't know.
I need to go up.
Yeah.
But it's terrible, you know, and the truth is that we live in a miserable condition. And this is and we don't acknowledge that, right? Because we wanna be turning up, popping bottles. You gotta look the part, right? But actually, the part inside is freaking rotting, right? And then at some point, that's when it's like, it crumbles, and then it's nothing, and it's gone. And that's why they said,
this conversation has so many applications, right? It's got don't extend yourself in credit to appease people who don't care about you. It's don't tell your family that you're this when you're not. This is crazy because no matter what your experience is, every single one of us does this. To some varying degree or extent, every single one of us does that. And we can all feel, to the extent that we can all feel the cage closing.
And I don't know if you're gonna say something.
No.
But I think one thing that I value, and again, as just like many other young men in South Africa, you're someone that we look up to. We followed on social media and stuff like that. The reason, again, why this conversation is so important, and I think why we appreciate your vulnerability with all of this, is people see the end product and think the end product is the story in and of itself.
Tear the veil.
But the problem is that there is no end product.
Yes.
In the first place. There isn't.
Facts.
Now, what would you say the end product is?
Done? Does that mean you're done?
Yes, because I don't know what the end product is. So I may say that maybe the end product.
You're a third the way through your life still.
Now I'm because I can't. Am I doing enough? Am I not just for myself and for others? You know, and should I be this honest about how miserable life can be? You know, so that other people can actually acknowledge. Maybe we'll be able to help each other if we talk about the miserable state that you constantly have to fight against in order to get to where you're trying to go. And it's not a matter of you feeling sorry for yourself or anybody. It's just let's acknowledge this. And then acknowledging it, I'll be able to get somewhere, somehow. And then I can fix myself, you know, somehow. Or we can help fix each other.
So it's like there's a door you have to walk through, or a line you have to cross into. A place of stability internally.
Yes.
You know, and my question then to you is, one, do you feel like you did cross that line? Because I appreciate I appreciate that all of those traumas, all of those years of fighting, and all of those years where you've always known that you might be exceptional, right? And you might be destined for far greater than where you are in that specific moment.
Because there were so many signs along the way.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? So that it is a real war. That's the real war. You win battle by battle, but the war is me actualizing the way I was supposed to actualize, right? But then in order for you to win that war, there's a line you have to cross, there's a door you have to get to of stability at least.
Isn't it the hardest thing though?
That's my question. Did you get to that place?
No. I don't. I think it's a constant battle.
Yeah.
And I think it's something you like. People have got to either you accept and acknowledge that I will be in this battle forever.
Yeah.
Right. I am constantly going to be fighting, so that maybe my children, if I ever have them, or my younger brothers, or whatever, don't have to fight as hard. They must also fight. They must also know that the world is not going to hand them anything
At all, yeah.
And even if everything is seemingly handed to them, they have to fight these internal battles that they have because you have your own expectations. What's going to happen? Someone gives you everything. Let's say your dad, you inherit $1 billion. There are these expectations that you have to do something with your life.
Yeah.
That in itself, for that person who comes from that privilege, so I leave my child $1 billion, right? There is that expectation they have on themselves. They're like, I'm supposed to do something with my life. And even if I do the opposite, the extreme is like, I'm going to live lavishly and all of that. There is this demon that keeps taunting you and telling you that I'm supposed to be more because I've been handed this thing. And so you're fighting. And so I think for me that it's...
So success doesn't fix it. Is
doesn't.
the answer? Is that?
It depends what you think success is.
Yeah.
But also you are never... are you ever... if I would say like I'm disappointed by the number of books I sell, for example. Yes, in South Africa, you'd say decent. Could I write on a permanent basis in South Africa? No. Why? Because...
Is that what you'd want to do?
Well, the thing is, I want to be able to tell stories.
Yes.
So for my things to tell, I love telling stories.
Yes, for sure.
And if I cannot, because a people gets defined by their stories.
Absolutely.
And if we don't tell our stories, other people tell our stories.
Immediately.
Then we end up being defined according to what someone else thinks we are.
Someone comes and takes a picture of you.
Exactly. Someone takes a picture of you. Right? You are not a person, you are this entity that is, I don't know. Because it's also very different if I go...
give color to the landscape.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very different if I take a picture of a kid, I go to my village and I take a picture of a kid on the side of the road. I know the context. I have the conversation. I ask them about the cows. I know that it's
a 10-minute engagement.
And you can solicit consent.
Happened on either side of that.
And I know what happens there.
Yeah.
But there where I'm just in this object of, I don't know, whatever the case may be.
The subject and the object.
Yeah. So, but I do feel that I haven't really achieved, I think, whatever. Because you're right. You know, I think you know, because I don't even know you that well, but I know that you guys are incredibly gifted, right? And that gift is a burden to you.
Yeah.
Right? And you know.
Yeah. It eats at you.
And it worries you.
Yeah.
Right? That am I
living up to it? But in your mind, you constantly telling yourself that I am behind schedule. When it comes to these gifts and the dream that I have. I'm never on par and I'm never ahead. You always, and so
it's a war
that you constantly fight.
Yeah, it's a war.
That too.
Yeah.
So how do you guys deal with that? if it is what you feel, because I feel like
No, for sure.
I'm making an
No.
assumption here.
That's exactly.
That's what we're going through.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. You want to start?
Man, I mean, so as we're recording this podcast, yeah, because this is episode 11, it's gonna come out in 10 weeks. So my fate could have changed, right? As I'm recording this podcast, I am in a very significant amount of debt, right? From some business dealings I've been doing. I live with my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law. I sleep in the same room as my wife and my child. And I'm hustling every day, right? I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping because I know I am not where I'm supposed to be. So I'm not sleeping.
So how hard is that?
It's dreadful. It's terrible, Kai, because it's. For example, I was just having a conversation with my wife about this the other day, and she was like, "You weren't entirely happy on your birthday," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a reminder. It's a reminder. Like nothing worse than a birthday."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like especially in a moment where it makes you take stock, like because that's the purpose of a birthday. You have to take stock. Wake up that morning and I'm like, damn, I hate this birthday. Do you see what I'm saying? Because this birthday represents a specific moment in my life that juxtaposes where I'm supposed to be, right? The other day I was just saying to her, I'm like, another word that I hate, another animal, another beast that chases you is the word potential. Oh,
Yeah.
that thing chases you.
Yeah.
Because it can beat you.
Yeah.
That's when it beats you is when you don't arrive at your potential. That's when the word potential or the monster potential beats you.
Yeah.
That's what was my other thing as well. Like, damn, son. Like, yo, how do I beat this animal? Like, where am I in this race of life? You know what I mean? Own race, own pace, because that's the title of the episode. You know what I'm saying? And this is real shit that we're facing right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is a war. And that's why the questions I'm asking personally are like, how the hell did you cope through all of that?
But I also, for me, it's and because I feel hopeless a lot, right? Which is why, like, I said to you on our way up that, like, I've always assumed you to be a very not positive person, but a person who
Optimistic.
a little optimistic. I don't know, but specifically a person who's deliberate about the learnings they're going to extract from something.
Yes, for sure.
I, to the best of my efforts, try to be that, but a lot of the time I feel very, very hopeless. And that, I think, comes from a place of, it's the potential chat. It's realizing that if I guess sort of if like circumstances hadn't if I hadn't responded to circumstances the way I did, then I'd be I'd be now where at my current pace I might be in 5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But not just that, it's also I've got this thing in my family where men never actualize, right? I've got this thing where
this other thing.
That's chasing you.
On my shoulder.
That's also chasing you, yeah.
Where men of profound potential. Right?
Yeah.
Like I've got uncles who were like at exco levels in like South African arms of multinational companies in their 30s, right? Like, you know, so like who were very, very successful for their time, also considering the time.
Yeah.
And for all intents should be like
Further
kings
ahead.
at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've got like I come from a high potential family. Women in my family seem to be able to actualize, but men in my family have this critical inability to do it. And what worries me and I think that's maybe where the hopelessness stems, is that it feels, I don't believe in curses, because I don't want to. I'd like to believe that like it's between me and my maker. But
it feels.
How do I make sense of all that shit? Right? Like how hopeless.
I think mine is a bit different in a sense that so with the varsity story, for example, I can relate a lot to that because in 2017, I was in a lot of student debt. I was about to get kicked out of varsity. And even though my family is in Joburg, they live quite far from the varsity. So I can't say I was homeless, but I remember there was a 2-week period where I was sleeping from res to res, friends' reses. I was never in res, I lived at home. And there was this one day when like Dumi phoned me randomly at 7:30, like, yo, would you like a muffin? And I was like, I need a muffin. Because we were both day students, so he was on his way to school. I was like, would you like a muffin? What flavor? And I'm like, because I need a muffin. That's what I need right now. And so when you're telling that story, I remember being at the computer labs as well. I'm at the computers. I leave at 10 o'clock. People think I'm grinding. No, it's because my homie whose res I'm sleeping at is not there. And I can't get a hold of him. So
you're watching music videos.
I'm not studying, I'm watching music videos. Like, I'm done studying, I've submitted my assignment. So it's very interesting. But for me, I mean, I'm someone of deep faith, I'm a Christian. So I'm someone who believes in like God's grand design of our lives. So interesting thing about potential and success and stuff like that. For the majority of my life, I really did feel like I was chasing potential, right? I'm the firstborn in my family, not just my nuclear family, first of my name.
Me too.
So you have a similar pressure. So I've always had this like leadership position, this potential, or you're the cousin in Joburg, you're the cousin who went to private school, you're the cousin who's traveled to other countries. I've worked in another country for a couple of months. So that's who I was. And I think up until 2019, I was chasing that materialism for such a long time. Even throughout the pandemic last year, I'm in a similar situation to Tammy because we ran the same business. Financially, I was in ruins and I was still chasing and chasing and chasing. And then I remember when I was applying for a job at the beginning of late last year, early this year, and I wanted a particular type of job because I know that my gifting and calling is in education management. I know that it's in instructional learning, it's in learning design. I'm very good at imparting knowledge on other people. That's just my gift.
That's just it.
But I was applying for jobs that had nothing to do with my calling and rather had to do with what I thought I needed to be at 26, 27. Right? So I'm applying to all these weird corporate gigs because I do have the skills that they say, but again, it's not my calling. And I remember Dumi sending me a job like, yo, here's a gig. And I just sat there thinking, why would Dumi think I'm meant for this job? Didn't I tell him I'm applying at like corporates and stuff? But then I look at the job post and I'm like, there's never been an easier job to get than this for me. Because it's my calling. So I applied to that and I applied to a couple of other similar ones. Eventually I get a really, really fulfilling one. And the job I'm in right now is very peculiar because I definitely took about a 30% pay cut from what I was making at our peak. Like I took a significant pay cut. I'm not going to be traveling the same way I used to in the past because I used to travel the world. There are things I'm not going to be able to do. But for the first time in my life, I feel successful. And the reason why I feel so successful
very, very profound.
Is because so the reason why I feel successful is because when I took away all of that noise, I remember my dad's been working in mining for like 30 years and he's been chasing success and he keeps telling me about how awesome mining is. It would be great if we worked together. But this one time he was just like, but I'm glad you found your calling. And for a dad to tell you that and for you to reckon. So right now I feel successful not because I have things, but just because the calling makes me happy.
You're aligned.
And
That's
I'm
what you
aligned.
pray for.
I'm not earning what I think I should be earning, but I'll get there. And I know that the story of humanity is one where the majority of people who've ever lived have suffered and didn't like their job.
Exactly.
I like it. And I love my family and I love God. And I'm not saying I'm not ambitious, but I can say that for the first time in my life, just because I feel aligned, I can say that I'm happy. But I can relate to that experience up to 2019. So
that might be a key to the answer.
Coming to sort of the closing of this chat, I think there are just two major things that we would want to cover, especially with you. The first one has to do with when you learn to be patient with yourself, your professional development, and the development of your purpose. And then let's delve into that one first, and then we'll delve into the final one before we close. So, Khaya, for you, when was the moment where, because I think we can all establish, no matter how satisfied you are in your calling, you're still the last person to leave the office. Why is that? You know, you still stay there until 9. Why is that? You still have sleepless nights. Why is that? But when did you get to a point where you were like, when did you learn to start being patient with yourself and taking stock of where you are? What was that moment? What did it look like? What did you take stock of?
You know, maybe, hopefully I'll be able to answer it in the way that I'm going to answer, because I want to touch on something you said, touch on something that you also said.
Okay.
So there's something you said earlier about, optimism. Maybe sense of optimism or positivity, you said, and you being a person of faith, I'm also a person of faith, despite my appearances of hooliganism and heathenism, and my occasional enjoyment of heathen activities
and political water.
So I have. So I would say that. I think it's got to do with pragmatism. And if you're looking at everything, because everything is miserable, but you've got to be pragmatic to get over it. Or to get through it.
Sure.
So it's like me writing a book. I need to open the laptop. I need to write that first word. I need to write that first sentence. And which is what I'll do. I'll write, okay, I've written a sentence, maybe tomorrow I'll write 2, right? So, and you keep doing it, and literally, and that is how you get over that hopeless, because
the insurmountability,
that the hope, like, it's hopeless, like it's a hopeless situation. And when I look as a person of faith, there's this verse that I quote all the time that I read from a Bible I'd stolen.
Wow!
I kept memorizing.
God forgave you for that one.
I once told this story about how I stole.
You're a walking antithesis.
And then someone basically said, and then they're like, yeah, how do you know not to steal it if you didn't have it?
Okay. Jeez, Khaya.
You got a lot of answer on Judgment Day.
No.
You got a lot of answer.
So good cause, Lord. And this James 1, this verse is like, it's about talks about suffering, which is, consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that it may be mature and complete and lack nothing. If any of you lacks anything, he should ask God, who gives freely to all and without finding fault. And so, for me, when that verse is actually not spiritual. It's very practical. It's pragmatic. So it says that you are going through something really hectic. Right? There's a reason you are going through this thing. You actually need to go through it. By going through it, you are going to persevere. And you will gain perseverance and maturity. And if you become mature, you will eventually get to a place where you lack nothing.
And it's a fruit of the Spirit. Graduating.
So, and it's like, okay, I need to go through these things so that, right? And for me, that's how I look at it, because that verse does not deny the state of being miserable.
Thank you.
It says that it's there. It is going to be there. It says, and it doesn't say if you face, whenever, which is whenever is going to happen.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And that's literally how, and then it tells, okay, great, okay. It's supposed to happen. Fine. Okay. What are the little steps and the things that I need to do in order for me to get where I need to go?
But also,
let me fire up my laptop.
It doesn't have to be for nothing.
Yes.
Precisely.
Have to be for
Precisely.
Because I think there is a reason for it. But I think if you don't look at yourself and look at why maybe something is happening, or what life God is trying to teach you in that moment, about the mistakes that maybe you are making.
For sure.
then you're not gonna get to that place where you're supposed to get to.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's how I kind of say it. And then now here's me again having lost the question.
No, patience.
No,
Patience.
yeah.
Oh, patience. So I think for me it's yes, because it is not. And I think at the time you don't know that it is patience, but you have to be. I don't know if you're being. I think by being pragmatic and understanding the problem, that is maybe being patient and being kind to
It
us.
forces you to be patient, for sure.
And to be kind to yourself
For
in
sure.
a way. And be like, okay, I am here now,
Yeah.
and I'm supposed to get there. In order for me to get there, I actually, the first thing, do I have sustenance in my body so that I can get up? Okay. Okay, let me eat to make sure I've got that strength.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next thing I need to do? Okay, I need to get up from this chair.
Yeah.
Take one step,
Yeah.
take another.
Yeah.
Eventually, and do all the things, and all of them are very mundane and are very small. And I mean, there was a thing where I wrote a post like a while ago about the fact that what I've seen in my life is that it's a series of barely noticeable miracles.
Wow.
And almost every single thing that has because I think that the miracles that we experience in our lives are not like, it's not a grand miracle.
Yeah.
There is no big thing that happens like, yo,
Yeah.
man, I woke up and there's a Ferrari outside. And this
I woke
guy
up in a
said,
new Bugatti.
It's like there's small steps that you
When
keep
something
going.
very
Eventually.
improbable, very unlikely.
Exactly. And at a very unlikely time.
Yeah.
And then, and maybe you don't make those connections, but then, because it happened there, and then, that is why it happened. It was so that at this point,
Sure.
this event can happen. And I think Steve Jobs said that you can't connect the dots looking forward.
Yes.
You can only connect them looking backwards.
Absolutely.
Facts. Because I think why we suffer in our own heads is because of our awareness of the bigger picture
Yeah.
versus what you're going through.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like because those two do not reconcile.
Yeah.
Right?
That's such a good point.
Like that's
There's such a
why you
context.
feel
It's
like you're
how- but-
suffering.
So it's like, but how? There's no way.
Yeah.
You're right. You suffer because it's so improbable.
Yeah.
The condition that I find myself in
Yeah.
versus that thing where I'm supposed to be at.
Sure.
Yeah.
It just seems impossible.
Can I ask a question? Have you ever been the kind of person who defines yourself by what you do? Like a person will put on their
Very good
on their
question.
Instagram bio, lawyer, this, that. Have you ever found will introduce themselves? Hey, what do you do? Tell us about yourself. You started off by explaining where you come from. Some people would be like, I do this, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever been that kind of person? And if you are that, and well, not just have you ever been that kind of person, but have you? What impact do you think that might have on, just how you relate to yourself in your mind and the pressure that places on you?
It's a very good question. So I think for me, I always feel awkward when people ask me to introduce me like that. Like, what do you do? And because I'm like, I don't know what that has got to do with
who I am.
you know,
With introducing myself.
Yes, but I find that when I actually mention maybe
Your
my
work.
achievements and my work and things, it's when I'm feeling very insecure. So when I kind of need a sense of validation somehow, that maybe actually I'm not that bad. I'm okay.
I believe
Say it
in
out
that.
loud. Maybe I'll
Yes.
believe it.
Yeah. So and then I'd be like, maybe I'm not, and maybe other people also think that they will think a little bit differently.
But you're worried that while you're feeling and experiencing that insecurity, people can see it.
Yes. And then it's almost like it's me masking that insecurity. I think if I feel I have to make it a thing.
Yeah.
Even if I appear to be modest about it, because we also act, sometimes because no man, not really, and I find that that's what really that's when I do it, and when it's important to me, and sometimes it is important for maybe to me or for me to do it at that time. And maybe it's important for my psychological makeup and how I view myself at that time. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be medicine in that moment.
Yeah, so I might need to do it. And but I do recognize that, when I do that, I think it's usually when I'm feeling a bit insecure.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's so profound.
Yeah.
This final one is a bit of an interesting one, because we, obviously, as we said, the history of this platform, this show, initially was how we relate to women as a result. And I think in season 2, we've taken, we've made a huge effort to really trying to get into the minds and lives of men, to figure out, a bunch of things. But there's always that niggling question at the back of our head in every single episode. What does this then mean for our relation with women, right? Ultimately, because it means something.
Yeah.
Whether it be, in previous episodes, we've discussed how unchecked mental health issues directly lead to domestic violence and gender-based abuse, and how pressures inform the way that we navigate our relationships and all of those things. So what, if any, are expectations that flow from women about the responsibility of men? How have you navigated that throughout your life, both positively and even negatively? And this could be any women, could be women in your family, romantic relationships, but how have you seen that dynamic sort of play out for you? And what have been your takeaways?
Very interesting, because I think for me, when I look at my relationships, I have become, I think over a very long period, very conscious of because I think that's the issue, is that a lot of men act out of instinct rather than let me be conscious about what is happening in this moment I find myself in. Around women. And the idea that, like, being a provider is I think it's one of the greatest challenges of all time.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to become an even bigger challenge because women are really starting to come up
and actualize
themselves. They are making a lot of money, and women, I mean, the study that I read, that women out of college, I don't know if it's true for South Africa, but women out of college, I think at some point it was true, make a bit more money than guys who just come out of college too. But there are also more women who are in universities. So they're graduating at greater numbers than
right
guys.
now, for sure.
And therefore,
women's throughput rates are better.
Yes.
And they are passing significantly better than guys. And so what's happening at the same now, what this means is that the world we are going to find ourselves in is a state where maybe not now, where women who may still say that I need a man who's a provider, even if they're doing themselves, they're not going to be able to find that. And
that would have to totally shift.
And now you, as a guy who you are working this job, but you are not making that much money, and what does that mean to you as a human being? How do you respond to her? And how do you respond to other women as a result of this? And I think it's something that we really have not explored as a society, because I do feel that what worries me is that there could be a backlash against women. Not that there isn't already, it's not miserable enough already for women. And I almost, because now they're just got to be like, no, but, like our pie is being taken away by these women. And I worry that's what's going to happen. But I think for me, women in my life have been very strong. So I have never had like a weird situation. My mom was the leader of the family. Grandmother.
She provided.
I grew up with sisters. My first boss was a woman. During my most successful moment at my career when I was at Coke, my boss was a woman, and my mentor, like the only mentor I've ever had was actually a woman. So I think for me, I wouldn't say. I would like to think that I've had very healthy relationships with women.
Yeah, for sure.
And when it comes to relationships, you know, I mean, I've had a few relationships. I've had a few.
Hey, look.
And you know, some longer than others.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that I've had some pretty decent relationships, but you know, having whatever little issues that I might have had. But I know that they all ended because I don't know, maybe one, I don't have kids, I don't want to get married at the time. And never, I think there's, I mean, I remember there was an ex who used to tell me that, you know, when she used to meet with her friends, they talk about these horrible things that, you know, oh, my man did this, oh my God, and then she would complain about me. And then they'd be like, seriously, I'm complaining about you. Are you actually saying? And then she said she started saying she used to feel so bad because she didn't know. She wanted to say something, but maybe that thing was important to her. But
relatively.
In the context of what everyone is going through, it seems like such an insignificant thing. And one thing that I would say is that I've always felt that I would be okay with a woman who is making way more money than I am, who is much more successful, much more recognizable than I am. Yet that theory has never been tested. So now the question is,
It's a very good point.
do I really mean it? Why have I not met someone like that? Why have I not gone with someone like that? Or someone like that? So why am I not pursuing that? Is it because
that's wisdom?
This is like an easier thing for me? And so
like a comfort zone.
You know, it's a comfort zone. So I'm saying this thing because it's nice to say, but have I actually experienced it?
Have you been tested?
So that is the question that I have for myself.
I hear you on the
It's good.
on your worry that it might lead to not a reckoning, but like a further fraying of how men relate to women, because men are already resentful of women. Already specifically from a finance perspective. Men are resentful of women's entitlements to like men's like money and that sort of thing. That stingy men thingy.
Stingy men's association.
Stingy men's association. I'm the president.
Elected.
You know what we're gonna do actually? I think we should do this for the entire podcast. Just cut Khaya out entirely and just only his laugh.
For sure. Only his laugh comes in.
Stingy men.
I'll talk to Tato. Talk to management. We'll make it happen.
So, but yeah, it's like men are really, really resentful, and a part of me. I mean, I understand it, right? I'm dating somebody who earns like 45% more than I make. And I remember, I mean, I said this in an earlier episode, but she spent like the first 2 years of our relationship preparing me for it. She's like, dude, this is like,
it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, right? I'm gonna be locked in.
It's very interesting that she also felt that she needed to prepare.
Exactly.
I think that's a big deal.
But it's just like it's basically what I'm saying is you say it and then it happens. And then,
Okay.
Sure.
So Tabo?
So Tabo wants to come in and ask a question. So he wants to make sure Khaya's not going anywhere until without Tabo comes in on screen. So this might be the first time you see my man over here. Come through, ask the king, take Mohanis. Oh, the second time,
the episode.
So, damn. Hi.
It's like that panel discussion thing, like an audience coming in and I'll be a question on stage asking Becky a question. Like, I know, I'm from. You know what I mean?
Where are you from, sir?
I'm from wherever he's from. My question, because I think when I introduced myself, obviously behind the scenes, they told you I was a film and TV graduate, is we still obviously live in a place where it's fairly conservative in terms of career. You know, everyone, all the parents want you to be a doctor, lawyer. So I wanted to ask you how you knew that storytelling was your calling. Because, you know, and I think I'm there now, not being in school, but obviously don't have the experience to just get a job, you know. So at times you question whether you should be here. At times, with the lack of experience, if I'm trying to put together something for myself, you know, and my friends, but I don't know templates or stuff like that, it makes me question what I'm doing. So, or when you release something for free, you know, and the only recognition you get is from people you view as insignificant, like your fellow graduates. What are they going to do for you besides saying good work? So, being at that stage now, or your equivalent to where I am now, how did you know that that was your calling and that you're supposed to stay here?
Now, to answer your question, when I started making, a very long time ago, I started making YouTube videos.
Oh, you were one of the first niggas.
Yes. Wait, what?
Yes, that's what I know.
I used
Khaya's
to
the
make
ancestor.
YouTube videos, I am.
Yeah, ancestor of South African YouTube.
I think you were on my cousin's YouTube YouTube channel.
What did she do?
She had a YouTube channel. I think she interviewed you once.
I don't know.
I think Khaya, aren't you like one of the first people to join YouTube ever in history?
South Africa, probably. In South Africa. In South Africa, probably.
Yeah.
And then I
ahead of your time.
Yeah.
So, and then I made this video. And so at the time, YouTube would take videos and then put it on the front page of YouTube with the thought, like, it was a cool video.
Yeah, I remember you had dreads.
Yeah, and then they put up this video on the front page. And when you're on the front page, people would go crazy.
You peeking.
They were like,
You
gotta be
peeking,
kidding.
yeah.
Baby, oh my God, you on the front page.
Oh, you peeking.
And I got an email from the co-founder of YouTube.
Oh my goodness.
And then Steve Chen. And he's like, yo, great video. It's fantastic seeing people from other parts of the world participate on the platform. I love watching your videos. You gotta be kidding.
Wow.
Chen watches my videos. And I took them on a ridiculous camera. I had this like camera phone.
Damn.
And I was just...
They're still up, ne?
Yeah, they're still up.
I'm gonna check
They're
them out.
still up.
I'm definitely.
We're gonna link them in the bottom.
Yeah.
In the show notes. They're gonna be on the show notes.
So, and I used to make this.
Link in the description.
And I mean, YouTube even asked me to ask Obama a question when I was running for the presidency for the very first time. When I was running against Hillary and John Edwards and all of those guys. 2008.
Yeah.
So, and then I started writing. I was invited because of that. The Mail and Guardian had a blog. I forgot, a thought leader. And then I got invited by the guy who, may he rest in peace, passed away a few years ago, Matthew Buckland. Matthew Buckland, I think. And he asked me to contribute. I was like, but no, I just make videos. And also I write ads.
Yeah.
And the ads that I write is like 30-second radio ad.
Really short.
Really short. I can't write this long thing. And then like, no, it's fine, do it. And then it's like, I agonize. And then, okay, I wrote my first one.
Like Moses.
And then I wrote my first one. And then I sent it to a friend. What do you think? Oh, it's really not good. And then I was like,
but you're supposed to say that you're a friend.
And no, that's what I felt. And then I posted it. Boom. And they had about 30 bloggers. Wow. It was the most popular one.
Oh, my
For the week. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
And then I kept writing every week. For 2 years, I wrote a post without getting paid a cent. For 2 years. And what that does is that you develop a habit, you develop not just a habit, but a discipline.
Yes,
right?
For sure.
And then you keep learning, you keep understanding what works, what doesn't work, what people... And I mean, I was one of the most popular bloggers. And then News 24 asked me to write columns, and they're going to pay me. It's like, what? And this is after 2 years of writing every single week. So think about it. This is 104
Yeah.
blogs
Yeah.
before I'm
Straight.
asked.
Straight.
Before I'm asked to
Yeah.
be paid.
Yeah,
to write.
yeah.
And then I write News 24. That becomes very, very successful to such an extent that I remember them the one year sending me a list of the most popular stories on the site. 3 of them on the top 10. Mine. Things like
No way.
That's 33%.
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And I was like, you got to be. That was insane.
I think the only other person that did that was Lady Gaga.
And I was like, are you kidding me? And then the Cape Times asked me to write a column. And then I was writing every week. I was writing 2 columns. One for News 24, one for the Cape Times.
Whoa.
So now a year I'm writing 104.
Yeah.
Okay, and then apart from
So now your discipline game is upped
so
now.
now you have to.
Yeah.
And then I'm asked to write a book.
But now there's the creative burden of churning out stories.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is. There is that. So now, because creativity is not.
It's
It's not,
work.
can I tell? It's not about inspiration.
Yeah.
Creativity is doing the graft.
It's discipline.
Doing it. There's
the
nothing.
discipline.
There's nothing about I need to be inspired.
Yeah, I woke up.
Gamu says,
Yeah.
I was like, this is a job.
It is.
Yeah.
You're right. It's a job. Wake up in the morning, put on, think of yourself as an accountant. Just wake up every morning, put on your suit, and go and
Just go through the ritual.
Yeah, and
Everything.
you gotta
Do it. Make it happen.
And yes, even if your friends are saying, yeah, whatever, you gotta keep doing. You gotta keep doing it. And eventually, I promise you, you'll find a niche, you'll find a thing that works for you,
Yeah.
and it will be recognized.
Yeah.
And storage with video right now, because data is becoming cheaper and all of that.
Thanks to you guys.
People are watching. so people are watching a lot more video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you create, the things that you make, you are going to be even more necessary.
Yeah.
So don't look at it as something that is going to, like it's not working now. But just keep developing and create and learn. Make those mistakes.
Yeah.
Do not, like when I was making YouTube videos, no one taught me anything. The first video I made,
Wow.
I had no camera. I wrote I saw this, edited the platform on my Mac, and then it was like a type thing. It was just a copy, and I'm writing, and it took me about 8 hours
Whoa.
editing this thing, figuring it out.
Yes.
Work,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that is it. You just
Yeah.
have to do.
You do it.
And that's it. You just have to do.
You do
Now
it.
you're publishing your 4th book.
Now I'm publishing my 4th.
And again, what we must recognize, and I think, for men who feel like they're under these kind of pressures that we're talking about,
Yeah.
is that the capacity to even release a 4th book was cultivated all the way back when you were reading too many books in high school.
Yeah.
And then
Too many.
too many books. Exactly, right. And then coming to a place where you wrote 104 blogs without any payment.
Wow.
In fact, if anything, the publishing of the blog, it being read, must have been your payment still, right?
Oh, I was very happy.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
Because it feeds something else.
Yeah.
It feeds
Yeah.
another animal. Like an ego.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow. I
Okay.
can say things and people want. I wish I could tell this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have I wrote a
Tell the
certain
story.
president, a certain president's son-in-law came to me once and asked me not to write any blogs about his father. And I should stop writing columns about his father-in-law.
Sure.
And he said, you know that your columns are read the highest level. So I think, he's flashing me, ha ha.
Yeah.
He's
Finessing you.
My dad and go read your column.
Yeah.
And he says, no, I say the highest levels. It's a guy that I knew from Cape Town and, I'd been friends with. And he was like So I have been asked to stop writing about him.
Yeah, as a courtesy.
And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
From the corridors of power.
Never told this story on a public platform.
Yeah. Yeah. You heard it here first. Right here.
And
Broke it.
wow.
Oh my goodness.
And then I was like, I feel like I have a moral obligation to say what I feel is true.
100%, dude.
And so
And now we have a moral obligation to go and find the present.
Yeah. As a person, it's a good thing we've had 4, so he can 5. He can keep his anonymity. Because who is it?
Yeah, who is it for real?
that was very interesting. I was like, wow.
Sure.
So, look, man, Khaya, thank you so much for coming through today. I mean, you know, these episodes, like when you type them out and you create them, you never know what they could end up being. But you added more color than what we expected. Again, I want to go back to the fact that you started with your childhood all the way, like going up to your adulthood, because a lot of us skip that part of our lives as informing the rest of our lives.
You think it's insignificant.
We think it's insignificant, but I think it was so helpful because a lot of people listening to this episode will be able to also reflect on like, wait, what have I not worked on? What fences have I not, unraveled? What walls have I not broken down? And all the way to experience just the drug that is validation and the
abusing it,
and the struggle that is purpose. And also thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I think it's going to be incredibly helpful for what we're putting together here. Yeah, really, seriously, thank you. Thank you.
I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah,
I knew I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
And because I was like, I'll just come here and chat and have a conversation because I hate interviews.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
So, guys, we're all guilty to some extent of viewing success or the success of others without considering the sacrifices and hardship that set them on a path to success.
Absolutely.
Similarly, benchmarking ourselves against others without this holistic view makes us incapable of extracting the necessary lessons and hardships in our own journeys. And most importantly, at least for the purpose of this discussion, we continue to think our ability to lead in our spaces and exercise dominance in relationships and all of that lead to our manhood. So we hope this conversation sets you on a path to understanding that you're not defined by frivolous externalities. And thank you so much for listening. Credit to Busisi Mkumbuzi Powe for doing all the artwork. Thank you to Tabo and Lou. Oh yeah, Busisi's wife, of course. Teamwork. And thank you so much to Tabo, who's behind the scenes but also appeared today. Thank you to Tato for sound, Lou for video. Thank you to you guys as well for coming through and making this episode possible. Please subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or any of your favorite platforms. Subscribe to Engage African Media on YouTube and watch all of our episodes. And please remember to give us a 5-star review and leave a comment.
I swear this time.
Remember, Do Me threatens you every week.
And this time I really.
If you don't leave 5 stars, Do Me will find you.
We'll track you, bro.
And please share this podcast to your friends and family members as well. Reach out to us via the survey in the episode podcast and description. And that's it from us for this episode. Thank you for listening.
It's a wrap.